Welcome to Nugget 339 with Steve and Dana Groman, and we're going to be parked at the Space Museum for quite a few nuggets, but there's just so much here.
There's a lot there.
In Nugget 337, we introduced you to Robert Goddard, the father of modern rocketry, and in the last nugget, we talked a little bit about Wernher von Braun. One of the photographs in the museum said rocket men. The most prominent 1950s-era rocket scientists are shown in this photo. Dr. von Braun, right, is flanked by his space colleagues, General Holger Toftoy, standing, and Dr. Hermann Oberth is in the foreground, and Dr. Ernest Stuhlinger is seated.
Kind of sound like Germans, don't they?
Yes, Groman, they do.
I wonder where they got them from.
Well, and that's what we had talked about a little bit before in the previous nuggets is where did rocket science come from? And we mentioned that Wernher von Braun is an American-German engineer. He started with the Nazis.
In Nazi Germany.
And like this says, he helped German Nazis with rocket research. He had a lot to do with the V-2, and when he came to America, he had a lot to do with the Saturn V rocket. They had this photo from 1944. A German V-2 rocket rises from its launch tower located in the secret research facility at Peenemünde on the Baltic coast.
That was an amazing feat for back in that time, wasn't it?
You know, you say that, but we always kind of want to jump to the conclusion that somebody that lived before us was dumber than we are. And that's just not true. Many of civilizations were much more farther advanced than we were. And
right, but they were in the process of trying to develop a rocket.
Right, I'm not trying to really downplay what you said. That's very true, and it's exciting. They were before us. Doesn't mean they weren't smarter. They had this thing called the V2 timer. And the placard read, this mechanical timer was among the 300 boxcars of German rocket material shipped to the White Sands Proving Ground during Operation Paperclip shortly after World War II. It controlled rocket functions which had to occur at a specified time and in a definite order. The timer controlled the radio equipment, gyroscopes, pressurizing valves, warhead arming unit, and the fuel cutoff system. So they not only brought men over, they brought equipment and technology.
Right.
As I understand it, we got half and Russia got half of the manpower, correct?
Correct.
The V-2 Missile Guidance System. This is an original V-2 guidance system. This particular unit was never flown, but instead used for research at the Germans' testing facility located at Peenemünde on the Baltic coast. It consisted of a 3-axis gyro and 2 accelerometers. Readings from these devices were compared during the flight, and from these readings, corrections to the missile's flight path can be made with the control surfaces located at the tail end of the missile. A crashed V-2 missile tail section and engine are on display in the J.P. Stapp Air and Space Park on the museum's grounds. And in this display, they talked about how they used this equipment that they brought over to advance things for the American space program and military uses.
We really did have a good time walking around and seeing the displays they had outside, although a little bit hot.
And here's that tail section that we mentioned previously. It's a mess. And here's some stats about the V-2 rocket engine. The Vergeltungswaffe 2, or Vengeance Weapon 2, V-2, was the world's first long-range guided ballistic missile. The V-2 was used by Nazi Germany near the end of World War II as a terror weapon against London, Antwerp, and other Allied targets. And this is one of the things that von Braun had mentioned that he lamented about.
And these people don't talk about it, but that was his whole thing. He was very upset that they were using his inventions and his advancements for bad things.
I think they probably still are.
And no doubt.
After the war, German scientists assisted the U.S. military in developing the V-2 technology to be used for defense and early space exploration. The engine and flight components you see here were used for a research flight and recovered from the White Sands Missile Range. Sounds like they had a problem, Houston, doesn't it? The V-2 rocket is 46 feet long. It weighs 27,600 pounds. It has a thrust of 56,600 pounds. It had an operational range of 200 miles, and the fuel was a mix of ethanol, water, and liquid oxygen. Fun fact, the German Vengeance weapon programs V-1 and V-2 cost $3 billion, and that's in 1944 values.
Back then. Wow.
And were more costly than the United States Manhattan Project that produced the atomic bomb, which cost $1.9 billion.
And on this display, it's rather interesting. It says, in the beginning, there was Gagarin and Shepard. No, in the beginning, God created. But they don't want to talk about that, do they?
Not most of the time.
No.
But what we're going to talk about in the next nugget is a little bit more of the clash between fact, so-called, and fiction. As you see, they have all these photographs and newspaper things that they have in displays across the front entrance and inside the museum. And they've got The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells prominently displayed. And we're going to introduce you to a little bit more of this convergence of space and fiction.
And fiction. Science and fiction. But Wernher von Braun realized in the beginning God.
Yes, he did. Thankfully, I'm going to beam you up, Scotty.
Beam me up.
All right. Thank you.